Yes, everyone, welcome back to the channel. And today I'll be grading every Premier League team's best wonder kid. They'll be split into 5 different categories. First category is superstar. The second category is one to watch. Third one down is highly rated. Fourth one is slow burner. And the bottom category is potential flop. So if you're going to enjoy this video, don't forget to hit a like on it, subscribe to the channel as well, and without further ado, let's get straight into it. So up first, we have AFC Bournemouth, and the person I chose for Bournemouth is Junior Croppy, or Croupy. Put him into the one to watch. I feel like he's going to be a very, very good signing for Bournemouth, Just moved there for £10 million from Lorient, I believe. Highly rated coming out of France as well. He's got 22 goals in 31 appearances for Lorient, so that's very encouraging. He's proven in a top league in Ligue 1. And I'm looking forward to seeing him in the Premier League because we've seen many players transition from League One to the Premier League like a duck to water. So it's going to be really interesting. And Bournemouth, they're known for producing these types of players, send them on for a huge fee. You look at the defence over this summer, a lot of them going for huge fees, and they do it across the board as well. So yeah, excited to see him play. Up next, we have Arsenal. Now, I was torn between Miles Lewis-Skelly and Ethan Nwaneri, but I've gone with the latter, gone with Ethan Nwaneri. He feels like he's been around for years already, to be honest, isn't it? He's played a bit part in Arsenal's 2 seasons, not really been a key man, but he's just signed a new long-term deal. So whether that means that he's going to get more game time, if he's been promised more game time, and with Saka occupying his position as well, it might be hard to get that. But there's a reason he must have signed that new long-term deal at the club. So yeah, for me, I'm going to put him in one to watch because he's got the ability. It's just whether he gets that game time or not. Up next, we have Aston Villa. Not many to choose from in terms of potential wonder kids coming out of Villa, but I've gone with Samuel Ealing Jr. Been at Juventus for the past few seasons, played as a wing back slash winger for the majority of his time there. Only had a maximum of 3 goal contributions in a season. So for me, going forward, he isn't great. His defensive numbers aren't great either. He was on loan at Bologna as well for half a season, then went to Middlesbrough. He done okay at Middlesbrough, but in general, it just doesn't look like he's cut out for the top leagues. He's been at Serie A with Bologna and Juventus. He's then come to the Championship, which isn't the top leagues, and he wasn't great. He didn't set it alight. So for me, this could be a potential flop. I feel like maybe the level is too high. So yeah, Samuel Ling Jr. in potential flop. On to the next one now. We have Brentford. Now I've gone with a new signing. I've gone with Anthony Malambo. Had a really good season with Feyenoord last year. He got 7 goals and 7 assists in 42 games from midfield. But he did have a shaky start early on. He's got dragged off after 45 minutes against Forest. Can be a little transition period for him. Brentford are in a transition period themselves, so it's going to be a tough place to settle into. But he's proved he can do it in the Eredivisie. It's a decent league, not the top 5 leagues, but it's still a decent standard. So for me, I'm going to go over slow burner here because it may take a little bit of time for him to settle in. But once he does, I feel like he will be a good player for Brentford. Up next is Brighton. Now, for me, there's only one man here, Carlos Baleba. Been at the club since the 22-23 season, and for me, is definitely Brighton's best midfielder at the moment. He's got great defensive positioning, tremendous ball carrying ability, and he's just an engine in that midfield. He's non-stop, and he's had huge interest over the summer as well from Chelsea and Manchester United. But Brighton managed to keep hold of him. I feel like he's going to be a midfielder who's going to be destined for the top. When you've got them clubs sniffing around for you, it's very promising. So for me, Carlos Baleba, I'm putting him in superstar. Now on to Turf Moor, Burnley. I've gone with Luca Koleosho. Been at Burnley for the past 2 seasons, hasn't made an impact really in either the Championship or the Premier League. He's made 41 appearances, so he is getting the game time, but he's only scored 3 goals in that time. That to me is nowhere near good enough. Maybe you can excuse it in the Premier League. It's a tough league to settle into. That was his first season with Burnley. So he's gone down to the Championship and still hasn't really made a mark. So for me, I'm going to go with a potential flop here. Up next, we have Chelsea. Now, I'm going with a new signing, Jarell Hato. He became Ajax's youngest ever captain at 17, which is crazy for a club that size. I think they made De Ligt their captain as well, if I'm not mistaken, at about 18, 19. For a 17-year-old to be captaining that Ajax team, it shows that there's another superstar brewing, and Chelsea have got that. Such a good tackler, a great reader of the game as well. And for me, I can see him being a presence in that Chelsea defence for a very long time. He can play in that centre back position, he can play in that full back position at left back. So he's already versatile at such a young age. And for me, he's going to be a superstar for Chelsea. So he is in that superstar category for me alongside Baleba. Up next, we have the Eagles, Crystal Palace. Now, I've gone with Romain Esse. I feel like it was a really good signing for Palace. A little pickup from Millwall. And in his time at Millwall as well, you could tell that he had the ability to change games, very good on the ball. And when they did sign him, he scored on his debut. He's got the blueprint of, your likes of your Eze's, your Elise's, even your Adam Waltons, coming from the Championship, a little pickup from Palace. They know how to develop these players. With the players they've brought in, their ceiling is so high, and I think SA is going to follow that suit. I'm going to go one to what for me. I haven't seen enough of him yet to put him into the superstar category. Majority of the time, he's been in the Championship, so I'd like to see him in a bigger league before putting him in that superstar. But yeah, one to watch. Remain SA. Up next, we have Everton. Now, not many players to go for here, but I've gone with Yusuf Chamiti. He's had some appearances and he's looked shocking. I'm not going to lie, he has looked shocking. Never made a difference for me in his time there. He signed for 12 million as well. He had a lot of potential coming out of Portugal at Sporting Lisbon, but never really lived up to it for me. Can see him leaving in the near future. With David Moyes, I don't think he's going to start him or even put him on the bench, especially with the signing of Tierno Barry. It's very congested, that striker spot. So for me, I'm going to go potential flop for Yusuf Chamiti. Up next, we have Joshua King. He's just broke out this season for Fulham, made many first team appearances, but yeah, Fulham fans speak highly of him. Apparently, done very well in his first appearance for the club on opening day. So there could be a player there, and they've got that reputation of them number eights who go on to achieve big things or have a lot of hype. You think of Harvey Elliott. They produced him, Fabio Carvalho as well, but obviously he hasn't turned out to be the finished product yet. But they've got that little history of making these good number eights, and Joshua King is going to be one of them, it looks like. So for me, if he still continues to play regular, he could reach that top. So for me, I'm going to go slow burner here because you don't know how much game time he's going to get. But what I have seen of him, he can be a potential good player. So yeah, I'm going to go slow burner. On to Ellen Road now, Leeds United. I'm going to go with a man who is still 21 or below. I'm going to go with Wilfred Gnonto. It's hard to believe he's still 21. His numbers, considering how young he was when he first come into Leeds, I think he was about 18, 19, and he still contributed goals even in the Premier League. He got a few assists, got a few goals, went down to the Championship, still did the same thing, still contributed. And for me, he's developing well at Leeds. He's not setting the world alight, but he's being consistently good. He's getting his numbers to decent levels. He's got a lot of experience already, at the age of 21. But I feel like he does need to move away from Leeds in order to reach that potential because for me, he can't be dropping up and down, up and down. It won't do his career any good. So for me, I'm going to go with highly rated for Wilfred Gnonto just because the amount of experience he's got and how dangerous he can be. It's just, I feel like the club that he's at is holding him back. Sorry, Leeds fans, but that's the way I feel. So for me, Wilfred Gnonto, highly rated. On to Liverpool now. I'm going with Milos Kerkez. He's only 21 and he's already making a big difference for, Bournemouth, even his national team at Hungary. I remember him in the Euros. He was very, very good. He's a high flying fullback who's, perfect for Liverpool, especially how they played on opening day, bombing the fullbacks forward. He's going to be perfect in that system. He's probably going to be one of the best players in his position in the next 5 years. If he's staying at Liverpool, it's a top level. He's going to have top coaches around him, no matter who comes and goes. I feel like he's going to be a very good player. So for me, Milos Kerkez is going in the superstar category. On to Manchester City now. I have gone with Nico O'Reilly. I've seen him play multiple times in many different positions, and he's always at a high level. I'm very impressed the way he plays. He's so calm on the ball. He's made a difference in many big games as well. With his driving runs forward, and he can do it in multiple positions. As I said, he can play in defensive midfield. He can even play on fullback positions. He's a very versatile player at such a young age, and with the trust that Pep has in him, his appearances are only going to go up and up and up. So yeah, for me, I'm going to go with superstar here because he's going to win a lot of trophies. He's going to be around big, big players, big managers as well. Pep Guardiola may not be here for too long, but he's going to have another big manager coaching him. So for me, Nico O'Reilly is going in superstar. On to Manchester United now. I've gone with Kobbie Mainoo. Not had much game time last year. Picked up some injuries, but I feel like the ability is still there. It's just whether Amorim can trust him to be that number eight maybe or number six. I'm not too sure what he is. He can play both really. And we saw the ability with England and under Eric Ten Hag as well at Man United. I remember him making a difference in Wolves games. I think Liverpool as well. He's a good player. It's just whether he can get them consistent minutes and also stay fit. So for me, he's a one to watch. Put him in that one to watch category because we've seen the ability, it's just the game time. Up next, we have Newcastle United, and I've gone with Lewis Miley. He is a very good player. In that Champions League season when they got it first time around, he was a fantastic player. Coming off the bench, even starting in some games as well. He looked very good on the ball. With them not having too much cover behind that, the three in midfield, think to Joe Linton, Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes. There's not many big names behind them. They've just signed Jacob Ramsey, but that's about it. So he can definitely slot into that, maybe get a few first team appearances here and there, try and push one of the players for a starting place. And I feel like he's going to be good. So for me, he's going in that one to watch category. On to Nottingham Forest now. I've gone with a new signing, Amari Hutchinson. They recently signed him from Forest for 37 million, which for me is crazy. He didn't do much for Ipswich, got very few goal contributions, didn't really do much, and he got a big move for 37 million. So it's going to be a transition period for him. I feel like he's still got to get to that level because we haven't seen him at a Premier League level yet for me. But he's got the ability, everyone speaks highly of him. So I'm going to go with slow burner here, just because I haven't seen the ability yet, but I know that he can get there. Up next, we have newly promoted Sunderland. I've got one of their new signings, Habib Diarra. Now, as you probably know, I'm a huge fan of this man. He was the youngest ever Strasbourg captain, 20 years old, got a huge move to the Premier League after, I think, qualifying for Europe with Strasbourg. He's already made over 100 senior appearances at just 20 years old. He looked really good on opening day as well for Sunderland. Nearly scored a goal, I think, against West Ham. Hermansen made a good save on that. But yeah, it's just very encouraging, and he just seems like such an engine in that midfield, and is one of the reasons why Sunderland won't go down this season. So I could definitely see him at a top club in 2 to 3 years' time. So for me, I'm putting him one to watch. He's got that really high ceiling. Up next, we have Tottenham Hotspur. Now, I'm going with Lucas Bergvall. I watched him a number of times last season for Postecoglou, and I was very impressed. He's very calm on the ball, a great dribbler as well, and knows where to pick them passes. Very incisive passer. He's got a lot of experience already, with all the injuries they had last year. He was getting a lot of game time in the Europa League as well as the Premier League. So he's a very good player at such a young age. So I'm going with one to watch here, just because I haven't seen that top level for him to put him in superstar, but I can see him being a very good player in the Premier League for years to come. Up next, we have West Ham, and I've gone with Ollie Scholes. Made some appearances towards the back end of last season. He looked okay, nothing to shout about. But they've just signed that youth at fullback, and for me, that's going to slow his progress down a lot. He's going to be competing for positions, maybe playing the odd cup game here and there. So for me, he may have to go out on loan to get this game time to push his ability up. So just because of the signing of the youth and the limited game time he may get, I'm going to put him in potential flop. Last but not least, I've got Wolves. Now I'm going with Pedro Lima. We'll get some more game time now that Ait Nouri has left for Manchester City. He's a promising player, but in a below-average Wolves side, they're getting rid of a lot of players, and I've heard Strand Larsen is a target for Newcastle now as well. So it's going to be a tough season for Wolves, and Pedro Lima may find it hard to adjust to not having a good team around him as well as being in the best league in the world. It's going to be a hard season. So for me, I'm going to go with a potential flop here for Pedro Lima because yes, I've heard the ability, I've heard Wolves fans rave about him, but it's just whether he can stay afloat in the Premier League and get the minutes in the big leagues that he needs. That is that for that video, guys. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to hit that like button, as it's really appreciated. Check out our socials as well. Did I get these picks right? Did I miss any Wonder Kids from your team? Let me know in the comments down below, and we'll catch you in the next one.